Welcome everyone to the Voices of Terminus show. We're sorry for the slight delay today, but we're finally all here. LEKS had to get his makeup done, so we apologise for that. That's why the green screen's up behind him, because he just basically runs that powder all over the place, and it's a mess, I tell you. Anyway, I'm joined.
No effort to look this ugly. I mean, pretty.
Anyway, we're here to do a player Q&A, and I'm joined by Josh, so say hello, Josh.
Hey guys.
And we have LEKS, so say hello, LEKS.
Hello, you wonderful people.
And our guest is Phaiden, from the community, Pantheon community. And
hello, how are you guys?
There you go.
Yeah, good.
So, a quick background towards who Phaiden is. He's actually the guy that pitched us a lot of cool ideas for the PvP show. And we really wanted to get him on last week, but we couldn't make that happen. That's why we didn't go all into much detail on what he posted and, with ideas for us. And we're definitely going to be doing a show with him as a guest for PvP and some other shows as well. So that's something we're going to go and connect with him later on and figure out some dates. And we're going to have him take over the next PvP show that we do, because he had some really cool ideas, and he seems to have quite a bit of experience when it comes to that. Anyway, we're going to get into this interview, and Josh, you want to go and kick off the first question for this young man?
Yeah, sure. Tell us a bit about your gaming background, Phaiden, and perhaps tell us how your name maybe fits in with that gaming background as well.
Sure. And actually, before I jump into that, any material I give you guys, feel free to use it as much as you want. I just want to see you guys succeed and hopefully build a strong community once the game launches.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I'm a pretty big gamer. My wife is not. So usually when I play, I try to do it when she's not here. But I've been playing since 1993. But those were like go find Carmen San Diego and Monkey Island and stuff like that. But it wasn't until 2002, 2003 is when I started to get into MMOs. And my first MMO was EverQuest 1. And around that time was Planes of Power. So actually had a couple of friends that were playing, and then they were kind of looking at me, kind of judging me like, oh, you don't seem like a gamer. But then once I got that little taste of EverQuest crack, I was pretty much addicted, especially doing the Planes of Power raids. It wasn't until I did the Planes of Power raids that I got to experience like what min-maxing is and how your attributes really increase your DPS, your tanking. I'm usually melee DPS or tanking. So I would say about 2004, 2005 is when I became a min-maxer. But unfortunately, and I'm sure you guys did this to your wives, girlfriends, or just friends in general. The newbie who ends up grouping with the people usually force them to play like a healer or some class that you don't want to play.
Yeah, you actually
forced me to. Yeah. So all my high school buddies back then made me play a Paladin because we already had a rogue, warrior, tank, priest, and for some reason they wanted me to play Paladin, so I ended up playing that.
Cool. You actually mentioned a game there. I don't know how many people out there even heard of that title. Carmen San Diego. I remember that game. It was awesome. I had many hours messing around with that game. Wow, I haven't heard that title in ages. I'm gonna have to look that up if it's available.
Back when it was on one of those big floppies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Was it 5.5 or 5.25 inch floppy?
Carmen San Diego. Awesome.
That was fun. Yeah, and our wives have all played the games. Try to get them at least. They've all played healers at some point, I think.
Yeah. No, that's
Save our asses.
But so some more interesting facts, I guess, about just my gaming background. So, I was the guild leader for Dragon's Aura for EverQuest 2, and like my friends forced me to play a Paladin spot healer, I forced my younger sister to play a Templar for EQ2, and we actually blew through the content in EQ2 a little too quickly. And our whole entire raid, there was like 1 or 2 dragons that were up, and we downed it fairly quickly, but then we ran out of content. And then we ended up transitioning over to World of Warcraft. And this is where I kind of got into the swing of things. So I was a guild officer on Dragonmont, and I was the very first paladin in all of World of Warcraft to get Thunder Fury, but then I was the 3rd overall in the game to get Thunder Fury. Now,
Nice.
back then, they didn't expect paladins to get Thunder Furies. Usually it was going to be a rogue or a warrior. It was a dwarf warrior that was the very first Thunder Fury for all of World of Warcraft. But Thunder Fury used to be nature damage, and then the tier 2 judgment gear from vanilla actually used to stack with Thunder Fury. So I have screenshots and comments from Blizz developers saying, hey, we need to adjust your weapon and sword because I was taking on like 4 or 5 rogues at once. So
Wow.
my ego was pretty huge back then, but it only lasted like 2 weeks.
Awesome.
Sadness. So, what got you interested into Pantheon now, after all of that? Been pretty established back in those other games.
I really like EverQuest 1. I'm playing it right now. I'm actually playing it with some of your community members. It's just hard to replicate what they did in EverQuest 1. And then one of the things that I love is their AA system. And I really hope they implement that in Pantheon because, too many MMOs nowadays.
Version of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's either gear progression, which I'm for. I mean, I do that, but having that alternate advancement is just beneficial for people who have kids and are not able to be hardcore anymore.
Yeah.
So what's the most exciting?
Hold on, Lex.
Okay.
Sorry, somebody's just asked what server on EQ2 did you play?
Black Burrow.
Black Burrow. There we go. Thanks, Lex.
No problem. So, what's the most exciting thing for you in Pantheon?
Okay, you're going out of order. Oh, you skipped them. Okay. Never mind. Group and raid composition, and then traveling where there's not instant ports everywhere. I mean, it's kind of lame and people might not agree with me, but I did like going on foot or by mount, traveling to all the places, because you actually are a little bit more immersed.
It does give you that I'm in the world feeling.
Yeah.
It does. And you tend to see a lot more as well in your own foot type of thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, what class and race are you likely to pick, and why?
So, I know you don't... I forget who it was. Someone from your team doesn't like humans, but I mean, I'm a human. I like humans. But then I always have like an ogre alt. And then most likely the class I'm going to pick... it's kind of hard for me to decide because I'm a min-maxer.
Paladin?
But someone who... No, not a paladin. I'm kind of done with paladin. Dual wield or... Yeah, some dual wielding DPS or tank. So I'll probably switch back and forth. And I'm actually playing a ranger on the Agnar server, which is that progression server, and really liking it because I always wanted to try... I don't like the hunters in other games, but the ranger being a mix of DPS and range is fairly nice. And then the spot tanking, which I know Lexer does not like, but sometimes in Agnar we're waiting like 30 minutes to find a tank. So sometimes they'll have me be like a spot tank, and I'm a little more mana intensive for healers, but it's nice to fill that spot so we don't have to have like 30 minutes of downtime.
I am fine with spot tanks and off tanks. but I am not okay when they become just as good as main tanks.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's true.
So, on that note, what is your least favourite race and class?
I would have to say the Scar is my least, and then the class would be Wizard. So I only saw like one screenshot so far, but then the drawings, and then also seeing the drawings that they have for LEKS during your guys' intro. I mean, it just looks like not a wart toad, that type of lizard.
Yeah.
The bearded dragon type of look.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit, being a Scar or another very, very unique race is certainly not for everybody.
Well, the thing is,
Definitely.
the Scar actually living up to their reputation. They hate each other, and they're hated by everybody else. So, they're actually living up to the law. So, in all fairness, VR have done 100% a really good job of even having us currently all hate the Scar, even without seeing them. So, good job, VR. Good job, VR. You've done it. You've definitely hit it with the nail. Spot on. You got the Scar worked out.
They usually say that the owners look like their characters after a while. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see LEKS's.
That's actually. I've heard that with dogs, but not with game characters. But anyway.
I always try to make my characters look similar to me in some fashion.
Well, we did have the contest to have the Scar. That's why we have that Scar face, exactly.
Let's say, where is he? He's over here, maybe.
So, if you had to choose between one of the two least favorite races and classes, which one would you pick to play, and why?
I would have to pick a wizard, just because I've never done just straight nuking damage, and seeing the type of damage that mages and wizards can do is pretty interesting. So I've never even tried a caster, and I'm just not into cloth robes. But I mean, if there's casters with cool gear, then I might be more inclined to play it. But yeah, I would have to pick a wizard because it's ranged DPS, and the wizards on Agnar, they nuke for like 1 minute and then they AFK for 3. So that would also be nice.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see how the mana affects him in the game as well. So interesting. What mechanics are you? Yeah.
Before you guys quickly ask that, Wallian03, there are a few European guilds. The most prominent would be the United Kingdom, is what they're called. And they are currently recruiting. If you have access to the forums, you can reach them there. Or if you're on the public Discord, Pantheon Discord, you can reach out to Cromulent. He's from the United Kingdom Guild, and he's actually the guy to actually contact and reach out. So if you're interested, that would where you have to go. And I'll get you the link to the Discord, and while we carry on. So you guys carry on while I get him the link to the Discord.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so the mechanics that you're mostly looking forward to in the game.
Yeah, I kind of hinted on this a little bit earlier. And so I know Brad mentioned it's not going to be at launch, but they do plan on having some sort of AA system, alternate advancement system. So I am looking forward to that. But until then, I might just end up creating more characters until they get an AA system. This way I always have some type of progression.
Yeah.
That sounds an awful lot like how I'm kind of looking there. I'll keep going with my main, otherwise when my main gets max level, I'll make another one.
Yep.
Same.
It's a vicious cycle.
Well, it's good too. I mean, it forces you to try something different. I mean, for years and years, I never played Bards in EverQuest. I went back to an EverQuest emulated server, and I played Bards, and I freaking love it.
Yeah.
And I never would have guessed. But it's always good to be put out of your comfort zone. If you could get into Pantheon right now, what would you do and where would you go?
I would actually make a whole bunch of characters and test them out to see which one I jive the most with, and then probably just hit up all the starter zones. Because what I don't want to do, and I kind of did this with like Warhammer and Guild Wars, where I overanalyzed or over-researched before jumping into the game, and I ended up burning myself out. So as long as I get a character that I like in jumping in with Pantheon right now, because they have a whole bunch of classes to pick from, and then just getting the gist of the starter area, that's probably what I would do.
Darren, I'm going to go ahead and take your question since you're still getting that link.
Yep, thank you, dude.
Tell us about one of your more standout or funny moments in a previous MMO.
So, kind of like what you guys mentioned earlier, I was more fairly into PvP. Right now, I'm getting my fix on PvP with For Honor, which is not an MMO, but is an online dueling type of game. But so when I had Thunder Fury and I was doing Alteric Valley, you know, back then they could last 8 to 9 hours. There was one time in Alteric Valley went like a day or so on Dragon Maw. But so I had Thunder Fury, and then I was charging at the front, and then as soon as they saw that I had the Thunder Fury, as soon as the Horde saw I had the Thunder Fury, they just kind of stopped and then let me hit them so that I could create the tornado around. And so that was just kind of funny. And then they just kind of let us pass, and we finished that Alteric Valley within like 30-40 minutes. So
Nice.
that was pretty funny.
I remember getting stuck in those Alteric Valleys. It was kind of a mixed blessing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was fun. Sometimes just like, oh my god, just finish.
Yep, I agree.
Josh, you want to go ahead and take the next one?
Yeah, sure. If you could pick 3 things to be implemented in Pantheon, what would that be and why?
So the first thing would be character wardrobes, kind of like what they have in Lord of the Rings Online or Star Wars, the Old Republic. Lord of the Rings Online did a really good job and just kind of helped you relate to the character. So, you know, sometimes I like the look of lower level gear. Some games, they kind of, you know, you got 15-foot shoulders, and, you know, sometimes you want to look like a minimalist.
Exactly.
I still remember there was a couple games out there where the lower level armor looked much better than the higher level armor.
Yeah.
So you'd always go back, farm that lower level stuff just so you can still look good.
Exactly. No, and it was great that what EQ2 put in their game to have the kind of wardrobe stuff, so you could slot the stuff over it. So that was very, very good. Probably other games had done it before that, but that's one thing I remember.
Yeah, I need to jump back into EQ2. It's been years since I played it. It sounds like it's changed quite a bit.
They've added a lot of stuff, and it has changed quite a bit. And it's a nice filler until such time as Pantheon can probably come out.
So, after being slightly distracted, where are we currently?
Josh has one more question, and it's on to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's if I could pick 3 things to be implemented. So I only have 2 things. The second one would be an objective-based PvP or open world area where you have 3 points. I know it's very generic, but 2 of the points would be towers that can be like repaired and damaged, kind of much like they have in survival games. I'm drawing a blank on some of the survival games that they have out there, where there's like Dark Age of Camelot did it really well with some of their initial PvP RVR realms, and then Guild Wars 2 did a phenomenal job at launch with a objective base taking over the castles and stuff. I like those back and forth tethers, and I hope they add something to that to Pantheon.
Okay, great.
Would be nice. It'd certainly get me into. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like PvP in World of Warcraft, but not as much as I used to. So,
So, what is your number one thing what is the number one thing from the game tenets that stand out and why?
I would have. Everyone keeps talking about the acclimation system. I would have to, but I don't know. I like the class variety and the familiarity with my portrayal of the classes that they have. So I guess it would just be the classes, the variety of the classes.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Okay.
an alt. Yeah.
And okay, that adds into brings into one of the questions later, but yeah.
So, what is the number one thing from the Pantheon difference that you would like to see in game the most?
Back, and it looks like they've perfected it, but it would have to be social grouping. I'm really liking Agnar, and it's forcing me to talk to people rather than just hitting a button. I mean, sometimes it's nice when I get home from work and I just want to hit a button, but I mean, I never talk to those people in those other games I'm playing. Whereas, in EverQuest, and it looks like in Pantheon that I've seen from the videos and the streams, like the Carnage streams and stuff, where it's forcing you to talk, interact, and people have roles, which I like a lot. And it's not just the Trinity. They do have support, CC, and some people who are not used to having like 4 or 5 different roles in a group, it'll be like a nice eye opener where you're not having to just min-max straight for DPS. Bards play a huge role in sustainability for groups. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I enjoy more than going into a group, which to me is like I want to pull my own weight and knowing exactly what my job is.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, if you could spend the day with a single person from VR, would it be and why?
So everyone keeps saying Brad, and the only reason, so it'd be Brad or Chris, and the only reason why I'm leaning more towards Brad is I'm not going to use my original word, but he seemed like a punk on the December stream where Chris, I'm a project manager for electronic health record company. And so I work on product roadmaps, project plans and stuff like that. And Chris seemed to have a product roadmap, everything lined out. And then someone had a good comment and it got Brad thinking. And then he's like, yeah, whatever, Chris, we might implement that in the future. And I could just see Chris probably rolling his eyes saying, all right, product roadmap just increased.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, are you a main for game or an altaholic?
I am a altaholic, and my main will last as long as I'm in the top 3, DPS or tank needed. Right now I'm in a mythic guild on WoW, and so I enjoy doing that. But if flavor of the month, I'm one of those altaholics that has to have that flavor of the month.
Do you create alts to fill in gaps in the guild, or do you do it just for your own relaxation?
Usually to fill in gaps. So I said I was done with Paladins, but I'm actually maining a Paladin healer right now. Just the dedicated tank healing for the mythic guild that I'm in. It's helping out a lot. So I do, kind of portraying back to the different roles for groups. I feel like I'm really fitting in a role, and I don't have the time just because my work and house and job to be that main top DPS for min-maxing in a mythic guild. It's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. So being a dedicated healer has been good to fill the gap.
Okay, great. What is your guild preference?
Before you answer that, we're gonna have to do an AA show on for all the altaholics out there.
You're gonna make me go find my old AA chips, aren't you?
Just saying.
Yeah, my wife gets really annoyed. I'm like, oh, hey, I just got to top level and I got a good gear. and then like a week will pass, and she's like, "That's a different character. What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
So, outside of gaming, what other interests do you have?
So I do have a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. So, I love the company I'm with right now, doing project management. But on the side, I'm working with a merger and acquisition group for a little financial software solution that we're trying to pitch to two of the bigger firms. Not sure it's going to work out just due to regulation changes. But then I also am finishing up a patent tomorrow afternoon for fishing, because it looks like we got some interested people in those. And so I also like seeing people succeed in their careers, so I do help out just people through my network, just getting to a career that they like, because if you have a career you like, you're usually pretty happy in other places.
Very awesome. And I can just hear his thoughts now, Yarn. You are not giving him my contact information.
I am kind of private with my contact info now, but yeah, if there is someone who is a good, genuine person,
I'm out. So, when it comes to longer gaming sessions, do you have any habits or superstitious rituals?
I used to, but the doctor said I need to stop. So I would always save up my PTO or vacation time, and then stock up on Hot Pockets and Mountain Dew. But apparently that's really bad for acid reflux. So I go with a little bit healthier choice, but I try to have as much food in place so I don't have to leave the desk. So when Pantheon launches, I don't know if I'm going to go hardcore and burn myself out, but I will have at least a week where I'm going to dedicate just leveling and enjoying the game.
And your wife probably has a say of your diet anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And now that we got the baby, so I'm we have a Pomeranian, and so the wife is at the top of the food chain, then the baby, then the Pomeranian, then me.
Yeah, we have 2 cats here, and I understand. My sole existence is to clean up cat poop and do whatever my wife says.
So, the most important question of all comes down to me. You guys have been chit-chatting. Who's the VOT host?
I don't remember what our score is at.
I pulled forward with 1 last time. Who's the VOT host with the most?
So I'm actually going to have to say Josh, because he reminds me of Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords. You guys have very similar voices.
Awesome.
Much
You're
missed.
my favorite.
We're gonna have to go through these shows and get a scoreboard going up or something, and kind of like from now till release of the game, keep tabs on who's got the score and do a giveaway or something like that. Who basically gets it right, who's got what or whatever. Anyway,
whoever has the most votes doesn't have to do something.
Or something like that, yeah. So anyway,
Could
Phaiden,
be like an eating contest.
this is
Exactly.
this is now your chance to speak to VR directly. If they were to listen and watch and everything, what would you tell them? What would you say your final words to VR? What would they be?
It would actually be directed towards Brad. That's awesome. You guys are listening to the community. Very happy about the product and the solution you guys are putting together. Just don't make the roadmap too hectic for Chris and have it, delay launch. We want a good game, and new features can come later in the road. So.
Cool. So that's the player Q&A, guys, for this week. We will be back on Tuesday with our Tavern Talk. As you guys know, the last Tuesday of every month is when we do the Tavern Talk, where we talk about all the latest news surrounding VR, screenshots, etc. We'll be talking about the DevCon, where VR attended with Brad, and what they talked about with Brad and David Reitman. And some of you might have seen the tweet put out there. I actually got to meet Brad and David and hang out with them, and I'm gonna talk a bit about that and look forward to sharing my experience with you guys after meeting the legend. You know, it was definitely an experience that I'm still tripping on. I'm still coming down. I hope the trip is over by Tuesday after I've had the chance to talk to you guys about it, because it was definitely an awesome experience, and I can't wait to actually meet them again sometime later down the road, maybe next year or whatever. It's definitely something that was unexpected and delightful. So we'll see you all Tuesday for that. And a quick note about next Thursday's show. It was originally stated that we were going to do a crafting discussion. That's been scrapped. We will be doing another player Q&A next Thursday as well. So just a heads up, no crafting show next Thursday. It's going to be a player Q&A. Phaiden, thanks for joining us. It was a blast.
Just one quick note. Since you said he's legendary in person, they should make like a legendary cloak in the game that says "The Brad."
Well, I hope it's his flaming sword that'll be the legendary.
Yeah.
He's
Wieldable by anybody.
I'll give you this little tidbit, guys. I sat down and I mentioned the word, to Brad, that he's basically a godlike figure within the gaming industry. And Brad's actually very humble about that. But I was talking to the guys before we did the show, and one thing that I think everybody can agree on is when you mention EverQuest, Vanguard, EverQuest 2, SOE, Seagull Games, you name it, whatever, people will automatically say Brad McQuaid. But when you look at all the other studios out there, and the games, for instance, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, Terra Online, Dark Age of Camelot, the studios or the game itself will be mentioned. So he's definitely, too humble when we call him or relate him to a god figure or a legend. It's definitely something that he's earned. And I think he's very humble about it, though. He's not one to take that on himself and say, I'm going to go and live up to that figure. He's very humble about it, but it's
one of the easiest ways probably to describe him is he's a game designer or developer for the people.
Mm-hmm.
He legitimately cares about his community.
Definitely. Anyway, thanks for doing this with us, Phaiden. We'll definitely have to hook up again and talk about or reach dates to get you on the show when we do do the second PvP discussion. We'll sit down after this and we'll quickly have a chat about that. It was a blast getting to hear some of your experiences, even if I did miss the middle portion because I was slightly distracted. But I promise I will rewatch the show to catch up. We will see you all on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, people.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.